Good evening and welcome to Is It Fast Live, the weekly show where we handpick all of our favourite stories from the world of automotive, motorsport, and everything that goes pretty darn quickly, if I say so myself, to bring you the latest stories. And what a show we have got for you tonight. Just reminding everybody that we are, in fact, live. And tonight, we bring you news from Citroen and BMW have shot two of their kids in the head. That's right, two model cars. two models of their car range are dead. Formula E happened. Congratulations, Formula E. We have got a brand new Gordon Murray Quickmobile that is ready for Millionaires Row. We talk about watches. The Russians are coming to your wrist. And finally, we have got a very funny story from Australia.
It's 7 p.m. It's a Wednesday. Must be time for Is It Fast. Thank you very much. And of course, I am Other Stu. Now, as our regular viewer will know, if he's managed to get home from work in time, hi Phil, we've recently taken on a number of new team members. This has put us in a very new role. To the shock of probably absolutely everybody, Stu and I aren't the most professional. So now, being funny at work is a delicate balance between being funny enough to entertain you and your co-workers, but not funny enough to get HR involved. But Stu and I have been carrying out our performance evaluation on the new guys, maybe a bit early, some may say, but we want to keep them on their toes and ensure that they've made the big time, that they're not just going to be resting back on their laurels, really. And so here's some of the feedback we've given so far. Of course, the names have been removed to save us from any legal issues. First of all, I would not allow this employee to breed. This employee has delusions of adequacy, and this member of the team sets new low personal standards that they constantly fail to achieve. Thankfully, they were also able to give Stu some feedback. This was what we found out, that his team would follow him anywhere, but only out of morbid curiosity. And on that note, welcome to Is It Fast?
Oh, dearie me.
Tune into Is It Fast live every single Wednesday, 7 p.m. GMT. You are welcome.
Thanks for that. That is both harrowing and true, and I'm sure HR will be involved ever so shortly. But as you say, we've brought on a lot of new staff, and that's because there's lots and lots of stories to break from the world of cars, motorsport, and everything in between. And so we start this week with news from over the English Channel. French and German companies killing their automotive babies. This week it was confirmed that, I'm going to stop saying that. This week it was confirmed that Citroen and BMW are culling some of our favourite cars. I say some, 50%. Citroen, first of all. The Citroen C1 is going to go out of production after 17 years in production. 1.2 million C1s have been sold to customers since 2001, which is an incredibly large number. But the last C1 is going to come off the conveyor belt at their Czech factory in Kolin. That's pronounced Kolin. But don't worry, they have said that there is a good commercial reason for this. The Citroen Ami is their new runaround for cities, fully electric, and the Citroen C3 Super Mini to gain a new U trim, which is worrying, from April 2022, priced from just £12,995 on the road. This initiative is inspired by Citroen's UK fair pricing policy, making this new 5-door B-segment C3 model accessible to former C1 customers. More details to follow Q1 of this year. So first of all, we wave goodbye to the Citroen C1 after 17 years. That's mad, that.
It is amazing that car's now been around 17 years, but what will the city-based hairdressers drive now? It is obvious that it's come from Cologne because it's quite apt, because that's exactly how arsed I could be with them. I can see that there's no direct replacement for these anytime soon. Obviously, the Super Mini coming in, the C3, sorry. They're looking at a price of that of about £13,000. Now, for that money, you can actually get a bigger boot, a 5-seat, an LED headlights, and a lot more safety equipment as well, as opposed to a car that looks like it belongs in a Playmobil set. The C1, obviously, after these 17 years, they should have actually been able to recover all the R&D costs and things like that, so it should now be profitable. But no wonder the sales have dropped off for this. It used to actually be quite a cheap car. In 2007, one would cost about £6,000. In 2012, that was about £7,000. Now that's roughly, okay, a little bit of inflation, eight and a half thousand, but they seem to be costing closer to 11, 12 now.
Yeah,
that's a heck of a jump for effectively what's meant to be an economical runaround.
I don't get it.
It does seem a little strange to discontinue these small, efficient cars, especially with the kind of the low CO2 emissions. Not quite sure what they're thinking behind this is. We've certainly seen a lot of them, with 1.2 million of them being sold. They're no strangers to the roads. But they're going to now be producing a larger, less efficient model that's got higher emissions.
Pretty much.
I'm a little bit lost on this one. But I'm not going to pass any tears for the C1 going. Yeah, I'm sorry.
There's two Citroen C1s that are owned by neighbours of myself down the street, and they are fantastically practical little cars. The C3, even though they are introducing a model of C3 that will be cheaper, it doesn't replace the fact that they are larger. And it does worry. I think they're clearing the decks for new electric models. Obviously, the Citroen Ami is coming in pretty soon. Kind of replaces it to a degree.
What is also interesting as well, with the end of production of the C1, Toyota now solely owns and uses this Colin factory. Sorry. So this is where they're going to be building the new Igo X city cars.
Cool. That is cool.
That's maybe where the difference is coming into it.
Because the same platform as the Igo, as you say. So, but it is what it is. 17 years is an awfully long period of time, and particularly when it comes to length of time for a car and a model to be constructed. 17 years of the Citroen C1 coming to an end. But tell us, are you going to miss the Citroen C1? Have you owned a Citroen C1? Because let's be honest, 17 years of it being produced, it was probably a lot of people's first cars, or maybe even their second cars at the moment. But it's not the only vehicle that we are saying goodbye to after a period of construction. Over the border in Germany, BMW also announced that the BMW i3 is also going to come to end of life. So the BMW i3 was initially released in around about 2012 and then started hitting roads 2013 kind of time. But it was the BMW Group's BMW's first all-electric drivetrain car when it came out. It sold, or has sold, around 250,000 of these around the world in its 9-year run. It's had several facelifts, and for those of you who are watching, you're watching the video of the i3 that BMW used to show it off when it first came out. I've driven a couple of versions of these. They are terrible. I don't like the way it looks. I don't particularly like the way it drives. You can tell straight away it was a experiment from BMW. I'm not sad to see it go. I think it's probably 3 years too late. I'm glad that this is being thrown into a grave covered in dirt and then forgotten for time and memorial. It is shocking.
Oh, I hate to disagree with you, and I'm in a disadvantaged position. I've not been able to drive one. But I would say when it first launched, I thought it was a bit of a mess of a car in terms of design. It looked like Transformers had lost like an Office Desk series set, and this was the Decepticons computer mouse. Now, I do quite actually, I like it. It's a quirky hatchback, rear hinged doors on it. the expansive carbon fiber construction. Nothing else really like it on the market. It's futuristic and it was unique. And for me, it's been able to hold that as an appearance and a bit of a standard setter for cars in its class. And we're looking at nearly a decade. It's a bit of a landmark car in something that's quite obviously a fast-moving market. And it's been able to increase its sales year on year, which is quite remarkable. So I will be a bit sad to see it go. I believe, again, factories being repurposed. They're going to be looking at the upcoming third generation Mini Countryman in the second half of this year, is what they're going to be doing.
Okay. Well, you're
You
wrong.
remember that, aren't you? Yeah, thank you.
The car is crap. The seats are crap. The ride is crap. It's crap.
Are you calling me a liar? Are you going to have to be escorted out of this chamber?
I'm not. I'm just saying, this car may be misleading, intentionally or otherwise.
I like the pretty colours. Is what I'm saying, basically.
Yeah, I like the doors. If I'm honest, that's the one thing I actually quite liked about it. And it was rapid, like 0 to 30, in fairness. But the BMW i3 is coming to the end of its life. It is expensive. It's rubbish. My colleague, Other Stewart, disagrees, thinks it's lovely and has been a trendsetter. But why don't you tell us what you think? Do you agree with me, the motoring journalist?
I've got to hear what my introduction is. Yeah,
wait for it. The motoring journalist, that this is it was a cool car in principle, but now that it's done, time to get rid. Or do you agree with Other Stu, who today has come dressed as the BMW i3 with shiny headlights and a red shirt on? Do you agree with him? Do you think it's been a trendsetter, a beautiful car, and one that will be missed on our roads? That is harsh. I'm sorry. I apologise. This is the theme of today's show is HR.
To me or the car?
Both. Well, actually, no, just to you. God, you caught me out there. But BMW, they're doing some great things. So I'm looking forward to what is coming next from them in that electric space. But do tell us, are you sad to see the Citroen C1 get put out to pasture, a bit like Old Yeller? It's probably going to get shot out the back of a barn. Sorry, guys. And the BMW i3, which I wish would be shot in the back of the head, around the back of the barn, but will probably rear its ugly head once again, like a Decepticon. So avidly put by my colleague and friend there. Tell us what you think.
And now, some more stuff from Is It Fast? Yay!
We move into the world of motorsport as the world of Formula E landed with a crash, a bang, a wallop into Season 8 at the street circuit of Diriyah in Saudi Arabia. Lots and lots of sporting questions to be asked and answered from Season 8 of the Formula E Championship. And I'll tell you what, it didn't disappoint. So, a couple of highlights from that weekend. We saw race number 1 on the Friday evening under the lights. Nick de Vries, the reigning champion, lead pretty much from the front, take the win, and his teammate Stoffel van Dorn, the ex-F1 driver, coming in to take his second place. And a well done to Jake Dennis, third place. Avalanche Andretti team. Very, very cool name, an incredible driver. But there are 2 races that take place across the weekend, and it was Team Rocket Venturi Racing that had a fantastic Saturday evening. It was it's eventual 1-3 for Rocket. Eduardo Mortara winning first, and then Lucas Di Grassi in third. Lucas Di Grassi, one of the single most experienced racers in the world. But there has been an awful lot of build-up to Formula E. Every single season, the same arguments seem to come about. Oh, it's, the sound is rubbish and it's not that great. And they're thinking about the spectacle first and the fans second and all this other stuff. I thought it was great. There's a brand new qualifying format, but most importantly, the racing was tight. They're bumper to bumper. They had their elbows out. The street circuits mean that out of like the 21 corners in Diriyah, I think 15 of them are blind. So you've got to absolutely tear it and basically just, you've got to balls out the bath, kids. You've just got to get on with it. Formula E making a return. Season 8, we had 2 races, 2 different drivers, whole sets of top 3 differences. What do we think of season opener at Didier for the Formula E?
Very impressed, got to say. De Vries sealing his first victory Formula E at this very track last season, been able to take advantage of an uncharacteristic slip-up by Van Dorn to double up, with the Belgian missing a second jump through the attack mode activation loop. The pair were brilliant. They were absolutely dominant and ended up about 8 seconds ahead of, I think you're pronouncing it wrong, is actually Jacques Denis, not Jake Dennis. I think we can debate that later on. Depends where he's from. And also, big up to Sam. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, so it is Jacques Denis. Sam Bird, UK Sam Bird, coming fourth as well. So well done to him. I've got to say, though, attack mode. This sounds awesome. Like, it sounds like a power-up you would get playing as Blanca in Street Fighter. And you just get to wail on your opponents. And you touched on it. First chance to see the new qualifying system. So, a little bit of background. Formula E's new knockout qualifying system is supposed to be geared towards more authenticity, put my head back on and my teeth in, to the results, to allow teams and drivers to get a fairer format for it. Could you, Stu, explain to me and obviously the listeners and viewers what this is a little bit more?
I would love to. Thanks for the question. So Formula E has got a lot of interactive and fan-focused procedures and things that they do to make us all feel more involved. Formula E's new qualifying knockout system, God, there we go, is one of these new things to come in this year. So essentially, you've got 22 drivers on the grid, down from 24 last year because Audi disappeared. The grid is split right down the middle, 11 in one side of the grid and 11 on the other. And they basically go out for 10 minutes each and do multiple laps. They're allowed tyre changes within those qualifying 10 minutes as well. And they are running at around about 295 brake horsepower. Now, of those 2 groups, the top 4 from each group, so the quickest 4, basically, out of the 2 sides of 11, then qualify and go through to a knockout phase. So think of any football tournament ever after the group phase. This is then what happens. So the cars, the Formula E cars, are then dialed up to 335 brake horsepower. So anybody who gets through gets the quicker car for the next phase of qualifying. They call this a duels stage. And then essentially they just 1v1. You've got quarters. Then whoever goes through from the quarters gets through to the semis and they face each other. And then the 2 quickest from both of the semi-finals go through to a head-to-head knockout in the final. And then obviously the fastest person in the final starts on pole, and then retrospectively it goes down the grid from there. So if you finish second in the final, you start second on the grid. Third fastest in the semis, you start third on the grid, and etc. etc. It's quite an interesting and innovative way to do a motor race. I can see what they're doing. I know Formula E are trying to drag lots of fans in from other types of sports and disciplines, as well as convert those of us who might not necessarily be converted from other motorsport disciplines into it. And as you mentioned there, they already have things like attack mode where they can, there's a portion of the track where if you sidle off to the right or the left, depending on the track, your car gets a boost of energy for, I think it's for 4 minutes. And when you're watching, you can tell which car has got the attack mode because their halo, the protective halo above the car that protects the driver in a crash, will light up. And so you can see which of the drivers is in attack mode. And you also have fan boost, where fans at home can vote for their favorite driver of the race, and they will also get a power boost. So it's
brilliant.
It's crazy. Yeah. I mean, it's such a 21st century race. Now, I get why some people are like, oh, it's not really motor racing. And I get all that. But the reality is they're trying to be different, and you've got to applaud them for that. And actually, the drivers in those cars are quite outspoken as well about lots of different things, but mainly the environment. Lucas de Grassi, who came third on the podium in race 2, is a very not outspoken. He's just very vocal about all sorts of environmental issues, both in his home country of Brazil, but also around the world. And he's a massive advocate, and I would recommend anyone to go and follow him on socials. He's a really interesting, really smart man. So yeah, that is Formula E for this season in terms of qualifying and some of the other factors that go into it. That's the end of my TED Talk.
Fantastic. Well, it was a brilliant opening weekend of the Citroen Championship. We're now moving on to Mexico City for Valentine's weekend. A day, I think they start on the 12th of February. So will sparks fly? We'll love being there. I'm not jealous at all. I'd much rather be in Mexico. You've got to be honest.
I know, right? Mexico. Isn't that what? Brilliant. So yeah, Formula E. Tell us, did you watch the opening weekend of the Formula E? Did you enjoy it? Who do you think is going to win? Will it be Nick de Vries taking his second successive championship, or will one of the others, potential pretenders to the throne, or maybe an ex-champion of the past? I'm looking at you, Vern. Is that going to be a factoid? What an interesting weekend of Formula E in Diriyah it was. I thought it was great.
You're tuned in to Is It Fast? And we're live, which is why it's so bad.
That's right, we are live every single week, 7 p.m. GMT on YouTube, Facebook, and we can also go into your ears via the medium of podcastery. Make sure you subscribe on your social media platform of choice. Download the podcast and listen live from your podcast distributing platform of choice, be that Spotify, Apple, or one of the other ones that exist that I'm not sure about, but I am reliably informed by the backroom staff that we are currently on. Racing over the weekend wasn't just Formula E, I'm glad to say. The weekend just passed, we experienced the Rolex 24 Hours of Daytona, one of the most incredible races on the calendar in any given year. It was a pretty tight race in the last kind of 15, 30 minutes. So if you didn't watch 23 and a half hours of it, don't worry, you didn't apparently really miss that much. But it was quite emotional. The eventual winners were Helio Castroneves, who is, of course, the full-time Indy 500 champion. Tom Blomqvist, Oliver Jarvis, and Simon Pagenaud scored victory for Meyershank Racing at the 24-hour race 10 years after the team's last triumph at the event. So that was pretty cool. Driving around in an Acura there that you may be able to see. Basically in what they class as a DPI car, but is essentially an LMP1, which is pretty cool. Castroneves came under severe pressure from Taylor in the last kind of 15 minutes as they tried to get through the traffic, because as you can imagine, after 23 and a half hours, the grids with the LMPs, the varying LMP cars and the GT cars, they're kind of a mishmash all over the place. But it was the four-time Indy 500 champion that pulled away, and to win by 3 seconds. 3 seconds. You were racing for 24 hours.
and it comes down to,
It comes down to, I mean, that in itself is just a huge advert for endurance racing. They did something like 700 or 800 laps, something like that. I'm sure someone will correct us, but absolute madness. And Daytona, the speedway at Daytona, is just one of those things that you hear and you're ringing in your ears from when you're a kid. Oh, the speedway at Daytona, the sun is shining. You just kind of think, crikey, what an amazing venue. I'd love to be there. I know a lot of people that were there, and they said it was absolutely incredible. So, the Rolex 24-hour of Daytona, what an incredible weekend it was if you were willing to stay up and watch the whole thing, which I know people did. Mental cases.
Absolutely. Well, Yeah, Gone in 30 Minutes doesn't quite have the same ring to it. It's more kind of suited to Or Your Pizza is Free. But for anyone who doesn't know, as the name suggests, 24-hour car racing held at Daytona International Speedway in Florida. And it's been happening since 1966 as well. I'm very lucky. I've actually been to the track at Daytona. Sadly, not on a race weekend, but it was even just amazing to stand and be in awe of the circuit. And the course itself is about 3.5 miles long, and it's utilizing the kind of the oval circuit that you'd be used to at your usual kind of NASCAR, keeping the Florida man very happy watching it go round and round in little circles. But it also uses infield roads as well. So it definitely gives it its own narrative and a very dynamic character as well. And this is the curtain raiser for all North American motor racing every year. So, as you say, down to 3 seconds. What a great way to start.
Yeah, and it's interesting that you mentioned there about it being the curtain raiser to American motorsport, North American motorsport.
North American. Sorry, I should qualify. Yeah.
No, you said that. You said
I'll
North American. Yeah, I'm trying to catch you out. Because when you're, and this is going to be some sweeping statements, European. As a European, I got into motorsport in a big way when I was young. But the North American stuff passed me by completely. Now, I don't know if that's because it wasn't necessarily televised when I was a kid or whatever that might be, but I never really clued into it. But I feel, tell us in the comments if this is how you feel or maybe you feel differently. I feel that North American motorsport has had a massive renaissance in the last maybe 5 years or so. So in the 50s, 60s and 70s, the Indy 500, the 24-hour Sebring, the 12-hour Sebring, the Daytona, all these kind of races, they were huge all over the world. You'd have races hopping backwards and forwards over the Atlantic and doing all sorts of great stuff, and it was fairly widely reported. And I feel like there was a bit of a lull in the 90s, which was when I was starting to get into it. And then by the time the noughties come around, if you're not into it by then it doesn't really matter. But the last 3 or 4 or 5 years, Indy 500, this side of the pond, seems to have gone mad. The 12-hour Sebring, 24 Sebring, Daytona also seems to have been getting a lot more coverage. And I, for one, am now super into Indy racing. I love it. I will stay up. I'll watch Indy after the F1. I'm all over it. Is that because there's now an influx of more European drivers, better known European drivers making the switch over to IndyCar, NASCAR, the Daytonas and Sebrings of this world? Or am I just ignorant and I have completely missed the boat and now suddenly I'm on the boat and like a reformed smoker or someone that's just decided to go vegan, I'm suddenly talking about it all the time when no one really wants to hear about it. Do you know what I mean?
I think it's got to come down to access to information, as a lot of these things. Like when you were growing up, council telly only had 4 channels. I think it's fair to say. And we also had a real golden era at F1. So the motorsport quota for your regular viewers was pretty much taken up. They couldn't put on more motorsport on limited channel access to kind of take over these side of things. So, as you said, there's probably a generation that's almost been lost to this. But now, with more people going and competing in different continents, yeah, we're definitely getting a lot more of it. And you can sit there and just stream it and watch away to your heart's content.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah, and I think that's probably got a lot to do with it. Streaming services, of which Is It Fast is one of them. So do make sure you subscribe and follow us on your social media platform of choice over the course of this year, where you'll be able to watch live action and highlights from some of the world's biggest and frankly weirdest championships in the world of motorsport.
We didn't even plan that segue. That was awesome.
That was really good. I'm really proud of us.
Well done, man. Yeah,
thanks.
Well done, us. Yeah.
But you know, and there's big news coming out of Australia. What will be midnight? I'm not allowed to say what. It's completely and totally embargoed, and I promise you I'll get sued. But there's big
news. So I
can
say it then, because you told me earlier.
I can mute you from here. that basically access to sport and motorsport is so much more widely available now, which has got to be a good thing. But do tell us, are you into American motorsport a lot more now than you were in the past? Have you been a long-time fan of American motorsport and an advocate of some of the best and biggest and most traditional races on the calendar from North America? Please do tell us. I'm genuinely interested to know. Are you an American? There you go. That's all I've got on that one. But do tell us. But the Rolex 24 Hour of Daytona, some very happy winners there. Did you watch it? Because it looked pretty good to me.
The question that all petrol heads love to ask: C'est rapide? Is it fast? Ist schnell?
Talking of fast cars and everything that goes quickly, you may have heard of Gordon Murray on your travels. He is one of the most decorated and famous car designers on the planet. He has been responsible for many of the world's best F1 cars. He was the designer, creator, and let's be honest, the mastermind behind the McLaren F1. And about a year or so ago, he released his own car, the Gordon Murray T50. And then this week, Gordon Murray and his team were back with the Gordon Murray T33. This is quite an interesting mechanism. I'm going to start with the £1.4 million elephant in the room. It's £1.4 million and basically takes the T50 and chops it in half from a price perspective. So great value.
Yeah.
It's essentially the best supercar in the world. That is what Gordon Murray has been telling people. And do you know what? It's really hard to argue with him, mainly because I'm not qualified. Secondly, he's normally right. And thirdly, they've taken all that's good from the T50 and transferred it over to the T33, if ever so slightly dialed down, because T50 is the pinnacle of the hypercar. Statement from Gordon Murray himself. So the T33 is built on an all-new carbon aluminium monocoque chassis. It's slightly longer than the T50 in terms of its length, and the cabin is designed for 2 people rather than 3 people. In the T50, you'd sit in the middle like the McLaren F1, but this is just a classic 1+1 next to each other. It's got a specially adapted version of GMA's, Gordon Murray Automotive's, Cosworth designed 3.9 litre V12 engine. It's got low speed torque than the T50, but slightly lower rev limit of 11,100 RPM. That is insanity. The T50, if you're wondering, 12,000 RPM. So it's pretty powerful, pretty quick. It's got heaps of downforce and is basically designed to be the best supercar in terms of how it handles and more usable every day than any other supercar in the world today. It's quite an impressive machine. Gordon Murray's T33. Answers on a postcard, please.
Oh, can you win one if you get the right answer?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that would be phenomenal. Yeah. Mm-hmm. He's described it as a more practical supercar. I don't know if practical and supercar really go together as two kind of terms. Got to say, obviously, taking £1 million off the price tag does make it an absolute bargain compared to the T50 that came out, what will be August 2020, something like that.
Something like that, yeah.
Have to say, I did have to take a bit of a double take. I thought you'd actually just put up a picture of the Porsche 718 Boxster there. And it almost has a little bit of a Lotus look at it from certain angles as well. Clearly influencing Gordon Murray's love of 1960 vehicles, the Alfa Romeo 33 Straddle, Ferrari Dino, there's probably a Lamborghini in there somewhere else as well. But he's been able to create a more graceful, less cluttered shape than quite a lot of the other contemporary supercars out there.
Wind back a minute.
Go on.
The what? The straddle.
Straddle? What are we saying? Straddle? Go on then, correct me.
The Stradale.
Oh, it's close enough.
We're getting
straddle.
for anyone who doesn't know, Stu is definitely into his cars and his motorsport, right? But every now and again, his linguistic ability. That's the first time I've ever heard it called a straddle. It should be called a straddle, though. Because these things are usually mental.
I do have to say, though, I'm barely lingual. So I think I'm not a show-off like you that can kind of shout "Is it fast" in several languages.
I'm sorry.
No,
you are at best monolingual. That is true.
That is very true.
But everything you say there, I completely agree with.
Thank you.
So you know.
It just is, this car, moving swiftly on, has given us a much smoother, simpler design than anything else really coming from Ferrari, McLaren, Lamborghini these days. Did I say them all right? Is that okay for you?
Yeah.
I'd probably say the price is a couple too many zeros for me, so I'm going to have to pass Gordon, but thanks for letting us look at it. That's probably cost us as well to even just look.
I know. It's such an interesting thing. I am vehemently anti expensive cars, like in the millions, because I just don't know how. I mean, you've got to be extraordinarily wealthy, obviously, to get one. And I guess that has a different mindset. You wouldn't mind parking it up somewhere and not worry about it, but I would worry about it. I automatically don't gel to cars that are millions of pounds from the off. I understand a car like the DB7, or one of whatever that has got some sort of pedigree, but this is just a thing. But it's a very beautiful thing. I will say that it looks much better in the flesh. Not that I've seen it in the flesh. Wasn't invited to the press conferences. I never get invited to any of this stuff. But it's a wonder of engineering. Gordon Murray is an incredible engineer, and he always does an incredible job. Him and his team do an amazing job. And I bet this is amazing. I bet it is spanking. I mean, you can see it's got a manual box in there as well, which is just madness.
Yeah.
But I'm with you. It's one of these things that you might see at a car show every now and again. It clearly is influenced by those cars of the past, and that's a good thing. I think certain cars and exotic cars as well have lost their charm a little bit because I don't know why. I'm trying to be more things to more people, I imagine. But when you look back, particularly over those Alfa Romeos of old, this is definitely reminiscent of that. But tell us, what do you think of the new Gordon Murray Automotive T33? This 650 plus horsepower incredible machine creates 150 kilograms of downforce, which is mad. And that's you would have
to straddle that. Let's be fair.
You would have to straddle it just to get it going. Oh, mate, I'm never going to hear the end of this.
Yeah.
But it is an incredible machine. Is it a machine that tickles your pickle, or are you frankly not that bothered? Would you rather pay a pack of Murray mints than a Gordon Murray Automotive T33? I think you couldn't go far wrong with either. with either. But let's be honest, it's not for me. I like it, but
it's beautiful.
Even if I won the lottery, I wouldn't be that bothered, to be honest. But tell us what you think. If you had the cash, would you be getting a Gordon Murray T33?
We're about to talk about watches on Is It Fast?
Every single week, we scour the internet for the latest of what's going on in the watch world. And this week, the Russians are coming, but don't worry, it's only to a wrist near you soon. That is the Rubix meets G-Shock from Casio. A very nice, bright video there, as per usual, from Casio. And for those who didn't get my little bit of Russian bit there, the Rubik's Cube is a Russian invention, or the Russian guy that did it. I don't know, whatever. The Casio meets Rubix. What do we reckon?
Yeah, invented in 1974 by is it Erno Rubik, something like that.
Yeah.
Rubik's Cube has become the best-selling toy of all time. Sold over 450 million plus to date. Life is a lot like a Rubik's Cube. Once you get one side all smooth and organized, you just normally mess up the rest in the process. Obviously not Casio's first flurry with kind of past cultures, very popular with the Pac-Man watch that they did last year.
Mm-hmm.
And as kind of another great past great would say, Hugh Lewis in the news, it is hip to be square. It is an official collaboration. They've obviously tried to jimmy it up a little bit. It does feature interchangeable bezels from the white to the black there. It will go on sale at the start of February, so the 9th, in the Casio stores, online, selected third parties, for £139. Now, for me, the face of this is too busy and zoomed in. Without knowing it's the three sides of a Rubik's Cube, it looks like basically a salute to the Colombian flag. For me, they'd be better kind of giving it a bit of a tiled effect with kind of many smaller cubes as well. The black rubber strap is just too plain. It's not enough for me that it just says Rubik on it. It needs to be a little bit more 1980s in your face pizzazz. It's a bit of a miss for me, even at £140. Sorry, guys. It could have been better.
I like it.
Oh.
I shouldn't like it because I hate Rubik's Cubes. I was one of those kids that was just so aggy with it that more than one went out a window. It was, but so this is, would you like to hear my thought process?
Please.
It's interesting. I'll keep it brief, I promise. G-Shocks. You've got to look at any G-Shock branded Casio through the eyes of a G-Shock. If this was any other watch, it wouldn't work. But because G-Shocks are a little bit way, and they're chunky, and they're meant to be a little bit hard wearing to a degree, it changed my idea on it completely. And this is where I thought, actually, it does work for me as a piece.
So it's loyal to brand message, is what we're saying.
That is exactly it for me. I, however, can't get away with wearing a G-Shock because it's just doesn't suit me.
Yeah, you're not a 15-year-old girl.
Yeah, but no matter how much I want to be one, right? But I think overall, I actually quite like, and I think for 140 quid, like G-Shock have been going mad recently with all these different things, and I'm so tempted. I've been so tempted to get one in the last kind of 2 weeks, and then this came out, and I'm like, oh man! Even if I'm going to say this quietly, even if you flipped it, you could make 50 quid out of this like overnight.
Probably.
Just saying. But it's an interesting thing. I think it looks good. I agree with you. If you look up close to the dial, you can see it's a Rubik's Cube, but not well enough. I think you're right. It could have done with being a little bit more broken up, but they were never going to do that because looking through the eyes of a G-Shocker, then this is it. You're
having a G-Shocker here.
I know.
I'm willing to let you have this one, mate. It's not for me. And at £140, it's not the biggest investment you're ever going to make in your life. And if you do take care of it, you probably would be able to get your money back at least. So, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Instantly flip it on eBay. You'll be fine. But, okay. Yeah, fair one. I'm glad you like it. Oh, wait. You don't like it.
You like it. You're glad you like it.
I'm glad I like it. But tell us what you think the G-Shock meets Rubik's, the collaboration between the biggest selling toy ever. Is that true?
I think it's what they mean is single toy. Because obviously Lego is huge, but there's millions of Lego sets out there. There's only kind of like one Rubik's Cube.
Yeah. Interesting.
They did Rubik's clocks as well. They were mental.
Did they?
Yeah. Oh no, I definitely had a Rubik's clock. Yeah.
God, I can live without that. But there we go. G-Shock come out with yet another reason for you to part with your cash. Are you interested or are you nay? Tell us in the comments if it's going to be added to your very, very early Christmas list or not.
Tune into Is It Fast live every single Wednesday, 7 p.m. GMT. You are welcome.
Every single week, we finish on something a little bit odd. So if you've made it to this point in the show, congratulations. If you're listening, flip over to something else and watch, because there's really no words for what we're about to show. Australia is a weird place at the best of times, and people do weird things. If the animals aren't trying to kill you, the people are trying to get you drunk or take you to barbecues or take you to Bondi Beach. I don't know what these people do. But the story this week from Australia is this guy. Here we see CCTV footage from a petrol station in Sydney, Australia, where this geezer fills his car up, walks in to pay, cool as you like, completely and totally starkers. Absolutely nothing on. So he walks in, tackle out, into the BP at Edgecliff, pays, and goes.
Yes. It's an interesting one, isn't it? This is the democracy manifest, potentially. Something we've all had to do is pay for petrol, but maybe not in this manner. Economic times are tough out there. Maybe you had to make a decision: is it fuel or clothes? As well. Eyewitnesses said it definitely wasn't premium, but it did look unleaded. Yeah, I was proud of that myself, actually. Thank you. Let's hope he put the correct nozzle back in the petrol pump after filling it up. The really disturbing thing for me is, and the irresponsible behaviour behind it is, he's not wearing a mask. Unless you can think he can breathe through his trunk like an elephant. But you can just have, this would be an amazing Aussie approach to life, to just basically say, "Oh no, mate, I'm double vaccinated. I'm good." I don't know what that accent was, but we'll pretend it was trying to be Australian. It's something else. Even used his phone to pay, maybe because he didn't have anywhere to put his wallet.
Right. So this is what there's so many now. First of all, it's probably assault of some description. It's certainly public indecency.
Well, yeah.
They've got his reg plate, I imagine. I can imagine he's had a visit from the local constabulary. But we're now just both trying to try Australian accents. G'day, mate. You call that you call that a penis? This is a penis. It's odd.
I would have made a completely different film. Yeah.
This feels like the man was trying to win a bet.
Yeah.
He's winning a bet. Maybe losing a bet. Maybe he's already
lost. I think the bet's long gone. This is him. Well done, mate. You are worldwide news. I just say
worldwide news.
Like it. Yeah, maybe his OnlyFans is coming out soon. This is brilliant PR.
Well,
potentially. There's an idea.
There's a taste for everyone out there.
I'm extremely pleased that there were no real other customers in there. I felt sorry for the guy behind the desk. And extremely pleased there didn't seem to be any kids in the shop either. That would have been
scattered.
Yeah. Let's be honest. A naked man always sounds funny until it's your relative.
Yeah. Odd. Just a really odd thing to happen. Is he okay? Is everyone else okay? Yeah. But the news, weirdly, out of Australia this week, that a man just went and paid for his petrol tackle out. It's kind of automotive.
Kind of. There's a car involved. Yeah.
There's a car involved. All very, very odd. But there we have it. And just before we close for the evening, because we are getting to that time again, those of you who've been watching maybe my little box and my corner of the screen might notice that there's something just behind me.
Oh.
Now, I can't go into too much detail because I'm not allowed to. But this, if anybody was wondering what this is, I'm holding up now a winner's touring car trophy from the British Touring Car Championship. This was awarded to Jack Goff of Team Hard at Silverstone Round 27 in 2019. It was Team Hard's first win in the Touring Car Championship. I think only win to date. They've come very close since, though. And, it's pretty heavy. You need to follow Is It Fast on your social media platform of choice to find out why we have and this is not a replica,
No.
to find out why we have a British Touring Car winning trophy, both in the studios, but also what we're going to do with it. I can't say any more than that.
And before anybody says, we're not taking it to the pub to pick up girls, this is not the plan. If it's a happy accident that happens, fair enough. But no, this is exciting. And it is shiny.
It's very shiny. It's very, very shiny.
Bless Team Hard. Thank you, Team Hard, for letting us steal your toy. Thank you
very much, Team Hard, for letting us borrow this. And to Jack Goff, well done for winning it, mate, in 2019.
But it's ours now.
But it's ours now. And actually, just very quickly, I know I'm going completely off script here, and I do apologise, but just very quickly while we're on the subject of Team Hard, we were very lucky to be involved in their scholarship programme over the last month and a half, 2 months, where young, not young, any driver that wants to try out for the team and win a £150,000 fully funded drive in a Ginetta Super Cup can come forward. The final took place yesterday, where the initial 100 had been whittled down to 13. So well done to everybody who was in that final 13. Well done to everybody who made it through to the final 3. And then a massive well done to James Taylor, who won the Team Hard scholarship for 2021-22. A massive congratulations to him. He's going to be driving a Ginetta Super Cup. It was a real honour and a thrill to be part of that process at Is It Fast, both filming the process. Make sure you head over to our YouTube channel to watch the video of the scholarship from Blyton Park Circuit late last year, and a part 2 where we catch up with the winners, or the winner rather, will be coming out shortly on our channels and on our website as well. But a massive well done to James Taylor. Hugely deserve. I mean, so many people deserve to win. Huge commiserations to the individuals that came second and third. And yeah, Celtic 1, Rangers 0. Apparently, we're just getting in the comments. That's useful news.
First for all your car, motorsport, and Old Firm updates.
And Old Firm updates. We're probably going to get struck off for that. But yes, well done to James Taylor, and commiserations to the rest of you. Please, if you're watching this and you met us as part of the scholarship, don't be strangers. Please do reach out, say hello. Keep us up to date with your motorsport journeys as well. We'd be really keen to keep an eye on all of you. You were all lovely. Too many of you to mention, but you were all just incredible. But thank you very much for watching and or listening to Is It Fast Live, the weekly show where we handpick our favourite news from the world of motorsport and from the world of cars and everything that kind of toddles along in between. And if you're really lucky, sometimes we'll give you live updates on football scores coming from around the world. Tonight, the Old Firm update, as we go out live, Celtic 1, Glasgow Rangers 0. But thank you very much from me.
And thank you very much from me as well. But Stuart, I've got a little bit of a puzzler for you to finish off this week, if that's okay with you. What's the difference between toilet paper and curtains?
I don't know, Stu. What is the difference?
So it was you!
Oh my... I gotta press a button.
You're tuned in to Is It Fast? And we're live.